It watches how you move. It listens to how your voice sounds before you finish your first word. It notices something coming off your skin that you cannot smell yourself. And before you have taken 3 steps toward it, it has already made up its mind about you. So how do animals decide which humans to trust? The truth is, an animal has classified you before you have said a word. Not based on your intentions, not based on your personality, based on your body, the speed of your movement, the angle of your shoulders, whether your eyes are direct or averted, and a chemical signal that leaks out of you when you are nervous, whether you know it or not. Animals are not reading your heart. They are reading your hardware. And most of us are broadcasting things we have no idea we are broadcasting. Let's start with the most fundamental signal, because it is the one that surprises people the most. Your body shape in space is a message. A direct, front-facing approach with squared shoulders is, in the language spoken across thousands of species, a threat posture. It is what a predator looks like when it is targeting something. It is what a dominant animal looks like when it is challenging another. You did not choose that. Evolution wrote it. And an animal seeing you walk straight at it, shoulders square, chest forward, does not interpret that as friendly confidence. It interprets it as a declaration. Now try the opposite. Turn slightly sideways. Lower your center of gravity by crouching. Move slowly and in a curved arc rather than a direct line. To virtually every prey animal on the planet, this reads as non-threatening. Wildlife rehabilitators, veterinarians, and field researchers all learn some version of this almost immediately. If you approach a nervous animal head-on, you are telling it something in a language it has spoken for longer than our species has existed. If you approach sideways and crouched, you are telling it something different entirely. A horse handler will tell you that walking directly toward a horse's head is one of the fastest ways to make it back away. The same handler will tell you that approaching toward the shoulder in a slight arc with your gaze soft is how you get a horse to stand still and let you reach it. This is not folklore. It is biomechanics and ancient threat assessment, baked so deep into nervous systems that it operates below thought. The second signal is your eyes. Eye contact is one of the most loaded signals in the animal kingdom. In most species, a direct, sustained stare is a challenge. It is what a predator does before it strikes. It is what 2 dominant males do before one of them backs down. A dog that stares directly at another dog is not being friendly. A cat that stares at a cat it dislikes is showing dominance. A chimpanzee that holds eye contact with a stranger is inviting a confrontation. When you look at a nervous dog, a horse, or a wild bird straight in the eyes and hold that gaze, you are speaking in a dialect they understand perfectly. And what you are saying is, I am watching you. I am focused on you. I have not looked away. What reads as safety is the soft gaze, slightly averted, not staring, not darting away in panic, just resting to the side of direct contact. Animal trainers describe this as looking at the animal the way you look at something slightly to the side of it. Your attention is there, but not locked. Your eyes are relaxed. You are not predator mode. You are present mode. Interestingly, the soft gaze is also the basis of one of the most studied bonding behaviors between animals and humans. Research published in 2015 by Miho Nagasawa and colleagues at Azabu University in Japan in the journal Science found something remarkable about what happens when dogs and their owners look at each other with that kind of soft, mutual attention. When dogs and owners engaged in extended mutual gazing, both the owner and the dog showed elevated levels of oxytocin, the same neurochemical associated with parent-infant bonding in humans. The gaze loop worked in both directions. The dog's oxytocin went up. The owner's oxytocin went up. The bond deepened through nothing more than eye contact of the right kind. What the Nagasawa study suggested is that this loop is not accidental. Dogs appear to have co-opted a bonding mechanism we originally evolved for bonding with each other. They learn to use our own trust-building hardware against us, or more charitably, with us. Has an animal ever decided it clearly did not trust you and you had no idea why? If that has happened to you, drop it in the comments. I want to hear about it, and I read all of them. The third signal is your voice. Not what you say, how it sounds. High-pitched sounds are signals of harmlessness across many mammalian species. Juvenile animals of almost every kind make higher sounds than adults. A small animal sounds higher than a large one. A non-threatening animal sounds higher than a threatening one. This is why people instinctively shift to a higher, softer register when they talk to babies, puppies, or frightened animals. It is not childishness. It is an ancient frequency code that says, I am not big. I am not dangerous. I mean no harm. There is also the matter of rhythm. Sudden sounds, sudden bursts of volume, sharp, unexpected noises are threat signals. Smooth, even, predictable sounds are not. An experienced wildlife handler will often maintain a steady, quiet stream of soft speech, not because the animal understands the words, but because the even rhythm itself communicates, nothing is about to happen. Everything is as it was 3 seconds ago. You are safe. Now we get to the signal that most people are genuinely surprised by. The one you cannot fake, cannot control, and cannot hide. Your smell when you are afraid. When a human experiences fear, stress, or anxiety, the body releases cortisol, adrenaline, and a cascade of other chemicals that change how you smell. The compounds involved, including certain volatile fatty acids released through sweat glands, are detectable. Not by humans, who have roughly 6 million olfactory receptor cells, but by dogs, who have between 200 and 300 million. By horses, who have similarly powerful chemosensory systems. By many predators and large mammals, who, in the wild, would use the scent of fear to assess whether prey was injured, exhausted, or weak. This is not metaphor. The phrase smelling fear is a literal biological description. Dogs can detect changes in your cortisol level through your breath and skin. Studies have shown that dogs behave differently around people whose cortisol levels are elevated, showing more vigilance, more cautious approach behavior, more checking. They are reading a physiological state you cannot hide because you are not in conscious control of it. Horses are acutely sensitive to this signal. Experienced equestrians describe the phenomenon as horses knowing the moment you are nervous and respond by becoming nervous themselves. This is not psychic, it is olfactory. The horse is picking up a chemical signal and interpreting it as, this creature is afraid, something is wrong, be on alert. What this means in practice is somewhat uncomfortable to sit with. You can slow your movements. You can soften your voice. You can approach sideways. But if your amygdala is flooding your system with cortisol, the animal is getting a different message from all of that. The signals conflict, and animals weight the chemical signal heavily because it is harder to fake than a posture. Now let's look at 3 specific animals and how this plays out in much more sophisticated ways. Horses are famous for reading human emotional state, but the depth of what they track is surprising. Research by Leanne Proops and Karen McComb at the University of Sussex, published in 2018, showed that horses can remember the emotional expressions of individual humans they have encountered before and adjust their response accordingly. If a horse was shown a photograph of a person making an angry face and then met that actual person in real life with a neutral expression, the horse showed a measurable stress response, more vigilance, more left eye monitoring, which in horses is associated with processing negative information. The horse had stored the memory of the emotional face and applied it to the live encounter. In practical terms, this means a horse you once approached badly, or in a moment of your own stress, may greet you with wariness on the next meeting, even if you arrive calm. It is not holding a grudge in any human sense, it is running a prior probability. You were associated with a threat signal before. The horse is applying that history. Dogs do something related but more socially complex. Research shows that dogs distinguish between a person deliberately withholding food versus one who simply cannot give it. They respond with more frustration toward deliberate refusal than toward inability. They are not just reading your body, they are modeling your mind. Trust, for a dog, is not just about physical safety signals in the first 10 seconds. It is built over time through predictability. Does this person's behavior follow rules I can learn? Do they do what they signal they will do? Is the pattern consistent? An unpredictable human, one who sometimes reacts with kindness and sometimes with anger for reasons the dog cannot detect, produces an animal that is chronically anxious around that person. Not because of any single event, but because the prediction is impossible. Crows are the third case, and they take the concept of trust assessment further than almost any other species. John Marsluff, a wildlife biologist at the University of Washington, conducted a series of experiments over several years, showing that American crows can recognize individual human faces and maintain that recognition for extended periods. In his studies, researchers wore specific masks while handling crows, and the crows subsequently scolded, dive-bombed, and harassed people wearing those masks, even years later, even when the masks were worn by different people. They also taught neighboring crows. The threat identities spread socially. What makes this striking is that it inverts the usual power relationship we assume with animals. The crow is not waiting for you to assess it. It has already assessed you. It has filed the result. And it may have briefed others. Trust, for a crow, is not a soft feeling. It is an ongoing calculation based on a record that does not reset. Here is where all of this converges. Every animal you encounter is running the same core algorithm, with different sensors and different weightings. What does this creature's body say? What does its voice say? What does its chemistry say? What does my memory of it say? And the answer determines one thing. Is this a safe interaction, or is it not? What animals are not doing is listening to your internal narrative. They are not registering that you love animals. They are not crediting you for good intentions. They are reading outputs, not inputs. Your intentions live in your head. Your outputs live in your posture, your breath, your cortisol, your eye contact, your consistency over time. The strange thing is that this puts the outcome largely in your hands. Not through acting, but through actually being calm. Through actually slowing down. Through actually being consistent enough that an animal can predict you. Trust, in animal terms, is earned in a language most of us never formally learn because we forget we are being read in it constantly. The animals around you have already started taking notes. The question is what those notes say. If this kind of thing makes you think differently about the animals you spend time around, subscribe to the channel. Every video here is the same question asked a different way. What is actually going on between animals and us, underneath what we think we know? The next one is going to get into something we assume we understand about animals, but almost certainly do not. Subscribe so you do not miss it when it drops.